Hey guys, Razorblade Apple Films here. Today we're going to be doing a review on the Spyderco Gayle Bradley 2. Now, I've been wanting to do this review for about a year, and if you watch my previous video about the witch story, you'll know why I haven't really been making videos. But, yeah, I've had this since, like, last October, so I've had it about a year, so, I've went through all the paces with it. I've loved it intently for the first couple of months, then started carrying other knives, and then, when I first got it, I thought, God, this is like a perfect knife. Nothing is better than it. Like, it's my favorite Spyderco, and then I kind of, got used to it, and it's still a really good knife, but I've realized it wasn't absolutely perfect. But anyway, let's go over some of the specs and characteristics of it, the design. So it is a made in Taiwan Spyderco knife, as you can see right there. Then it says Gayle Bradley right there. That's who designed it. It's got the Texas emblem. It's like a 3.6-inch blade, so one of the really biggest Spyderco blades I have. Probably the biggest Spyderco blade I have. If you get this knife, it's probably going to be like, you're not really used to Spyderco knives being that long. I like how it's got, most Spydercos have choils. This one has, like, a little sharpening choil right there, and then it's got, most of the blade length is used. Now, it is one of the made in Taiwan knives, so it's, like, very high quality. I think it's, I think the Taiwan knives are better than the made in America knives. You're gonna get the, Parkerized pocket clip. Just kind of like that gray finish. I really like this clip. It hasn't shown wear or anything like that. It's got the little white spider on it. It's got the laminated carbon fiber over G10 scales, just like the Spyderco Sage has, which is also made in Taiwan, which is one of my favorite knives. Pretty much identical patterns on those. And, yeah, it's got M4 steel, which M4 is not a stainless steel, so if you're worried about staining it, you're going to have to take care of it with, like, mineral oil or something like that. I'm not an expert. I don't like protecting my non-stainless steel blades. I like getting kind of a patina on it. You wipe it down a little bit. I'm trying to show you. It hasn't taken much, not as much as I thought. So if you're worried about that, I think taking care of it shouldn't be an issue, because I've been trying to stain mine. I've left mine, like, overnight with, like, stuff on it, and it still hasn't really done much. But I love the M4 steel. There's a pretty good shot of it. Yeah, I love the M4 steel. It stays sharp for a really long time. Though I always touch mine up, like, every time I use it. So it hasn't gotten dull yet. Would have had a factory edge on it if I wouldn't have dropped it. Totally my fault. I dropped it and it hit a concrete slab and chipped the blade. That's why you can see it's kind of got, like, a slight recurve. Took kind of a while to get that out. But it's back to, like, a razor sharp edge. It's hollow ground. You can see the little grind lines in there. It looks really pretty. Very pretty knife, though it's kind of a weird looking knife, like because the designer doesn't really like putting, I'm assuming he would prefer a thumb stud. He doesn't like the spider hole. He would have liked the knife to probably look like that, like a kind of a classic Griptilian shape. And because the spider hole's in it, it looks a little weird. Kind of just weird lines overall. The hole, I think, is actually smaller on this one than it is on the first Gayle Bradley, and they also took away the little choil for you to choke up on the knife and add, like, a little place to, I guess, like a little finger guard area, which, makes people feel a little more secure when you're using it, I guess. Though, I wouldn't have had a problem with that. Like, I kind of like the original Gayle Bradley, though the weird lines, it's just a weird looking knife overall. And the lines right here are also kind of weird. It's like really subtle finger grooves. Though, I think the knife as a whole looks really pretty because this carbon fiber looks great, but they like extended the edges of the metal liners on the inside, and it like comes a little bit past, so it kind of has this silver outline to the whole knife, and that just like looks really classy. As far as smoothness goes, let me zoom out a little bit. Hit my background. You know, you can thumb flick it very easily. You can flick it out. You know, it's a very smooth knife. And I love the sound the lock makes when it's coming in. It's a liner lock. It feels very secure. There's the lockup. Now I know the lockup is a lot thicker, or the liner overall is a lot thicker on the original Gayle Bradley. And though I don't think that compromises anything on this knife, I'll show you a lock test later, and I think it should hold up just fine. There's a little bit of jimping right there, give you a little bit more aid when you're closing it, but it like lines up pretty nicely, so you can't really see the jimping. So overall, very smooth, elegant, classy knife. Just some of the lines are a little bit weird overall. Cutting, it's a hollow ground. You know, if you have a buck 110, you know, cuts the same as that, though cuts a little bit better actually. Pretty thin edge behind the grind line. I mean, you know, Spyderco's quality. If you have the original Gayle Bradley, I'm assuming it cuts the exact same. I don't have the original. I've never used one, but you know, it cuts really well. You know, it's going to do well for your everyday tasks. I really like cutting fruit with it because I like, you know, staining the blade. And it does really well. It does just as good as a job as a full flat ground knife. You might not think it slices as well, but it's got a pretty thin tip. Probably just because they had to like thin it out for the swedge, but it's plenty strong. I've never had any issues with it. Let me compare it to the Spyderco Sage. Now, actually, the tip is thicker on the Sage. Alright, let's do a quick little size comparison. Here it is next to a Benchmade grip talion. Now, this is a custom grip talion that I had made. I haven't showed it off on the channel, but it's made of, I used their custom knife maker program. Got black hardware, and then I kept the silver lock bar, or lock lever, I don't know what it's called specifically. And then I got the like horizontal shaped G10, and it's kind of a forest green, really looks pretty. But either way, here it is next to the Gayle Bradley, and as you can see, let's put them like this. Gayle Bradley has a little bit longer of a blade and a little longer handle, so overall it's going to be a little bit bigger than a grip talion. Here it is next to a Spyderco Sage, as I've already showed you, kind of a smaller gentleman's knife. Really love the Spyderco Sage. It's still probably like one of my favorite Spydercos, if not my favorite. Let's add a Paramilitary 2 in here. Here is my carbon fiber Paramilitary 2 with the M4 steel, very similar to the Gayle Bradley. Though I like probably the Paramilitary 2 a little bit more. Alright, let's cut to some tests I like to put my knives through on my channel. Alright, here's a spine whack test with the Spyderco Gayle Bradley 2. You can see the patina a little bit better now. Like I said, it's not really much. Anyway. So you can see that lock bar, while thin, is still really strong, and that's for the I always do that test just because a lot of people are like, oh, liner locks aren't really that strong as frame locks or any other type, but you know, they're decently strong, I think. And the liner isn't as thick on this one as it is on the old one, or the first one, and there you go, passed the test really easily. And yeah, And that test is just for, like, you know, if you're using it in an emergency self-defense situation, it doesn't close on your fingers. Or if you're just using it in the woods or in the factory or, you know, wherever you're working, and you accidentally, like, bump it, you know, like, you don't want it to just close in your hands. And sometimes I have to, like, stab through stuff, you know? And, like, if you're using, like, a slip joint or something without a lock, sometimes when you're stabbing down, if you're kind of, like, at a wrong angle, you know, it'll close. So, you know, that's just one thing I like to have a lock on mine, and I like the lock to be pretty strong. So this one is definitely strong enough, you know, pass the test. And knowing that it passed that test just makes me a little bit more confident in the knife. Also, this is M4 steel, so when a steel is harder, it makes it more brittle. But just to show you, this knife isn't like something that'll break easily. It is a really strong steel. I'm just going to do a quick stab test into the wood. And it does have a pretty thin tip. So, you know, no damage to the tip. Very strong. My cat is coming up behind you. If you can hear that meowing, sorry about that. It's not really one to focus, but you can see there's no damage to the tip. So it looks great. So that M4 steel is literally like my favorite steel now. After using 2 knives with it for about a year, the Paramilitary 2 and this knife, I love the M4 steel. It's really fast. Here's how the knife will look in your pocket. You know, I love this pocket clip too. When they use these, I think these are like the best ones they make. It's very discreet, very subtle, even though it's not a deep carry pocket clip. This might be interesting for you guys. This is a spiny orb weaver, and these things are everywhere in Florida in fall. Just a really interesting looking spider. I thought I'd show you. And here's a quick stab test into the arrow target. So overall, I think this is a very well-made knife. It's definitely a handsome, like, classy knife. Yet at the same time, it's big enough to do, I guess, tactical purposes. Or, you know, it could be used for that. Though I don't think it's really for that. It's kind of a little bit of an awkward knife when you think of it, because it's kind of a delicate blade, not delicate, but, you know, made for fine and good cutting tasks, but it's kind of a giant, like, oversized, tactical-looking knife with that swedge. So, you know, it's kind of like the same ballpark as a Benchmade Griptilian, though I think the Griptilian could be probably used a little harder just because of the thickness of the blade. So yeah, I guess just an oversized, you know, if you like your bigger knives, but it's still a really great cutter, kind of classy gentleman knife. I don't know what to really call it. Kind of doesn't really fit into a perfect category. Though I think it looks really nice. Definitely love the M4 steel. Cuts really well. The blade geometry, you know, makes it cut really well. Overall, like I said, I think it looks really nice, though it's got a little bit of a weird design, like the lines of the knife, but I don't know. It's kind of like one of those things that grows on you just because it's... A lot of Spyderco knives kind of have to grow on you after a while. It's around $145, so you'll have to decide if that's a good price. When I bought it, I was like, oh, that's a great price. You know, I think it's well worth it. And now that I have it, I'm glad I do. So, you know, I thought it was a pretty good price, and that's just me. So thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed it.